Now, before we go on any further, there are some really important things that I need to talk about that most beginners typically mess up. And the reason is simple. If your computer turns off, goes to sleep, or disconnects from the internet, OpenClaw stops running. But there's something more important to know about OpenClaw is open source and it's very experimental. OpenClaw can literally delete your files, install malware, or just mess with your computer if it starts to malfunction. And there's been several cases of users downloading malware without them even knowing it. So to be safe when using OpenClaw, use a VPS. You want to use a VPS, which is basically a cloud computer that stays online all the time. This is critical because OpenClaw relies on things like cron jobs and automations that need to run even when you're not there. OpenClaw also won't have access to your computer, which limits your liability. Once you install OpenClaw on a VPS, it'll be working for you 24/7. So it'll be running tasks, using workflows, or just sending you daily reminders. So to get started, we'll be installing OpenClaw using a one-click deployer from Hostinger. It's the easiest, the fastest, and cheapest way to install OpenClaw. Now there is a link in the video description. This will take you to Hostinger to install OpenClaw on a VPS. So once you click on that link in the video description, it'll take you to Hostinger's website in order to install OpenClaw. So when you get to this page, you'll click on Get Started. Now their plans and their pages typically change over time, so you'll just want to make sure that you select the OpenClaw and then select an OpenClaw plan. Now here we have two plans. We have the managed and we have the self-managed. I recommend selecting the managed. This will make it so you can deploy OpenClaw using their one-click deployer. So under the managed OpenClaw, you'll click on choose plan. The next page is the cart page. Now you want to adjust the period. So on the period selection, you can select 1 month, 12 months, or 24 months. I recommend doing the 12 months. This will grant you a large discount, and there is also a 30-day money-back guarantee for any reason whatsoever. Now there's one box I want you to uncheck, and this is the ready to use AI. Now me and my developers have used OpenClaw with many different models, and we've discovered that when you combine Nexus with other AIs, it typically conflicts. So I do recommend to take that off. I'll explain more about this later in the video. Now on the right side, we have a coupon code. We have a discount code that will give you a discount on your OpenClaw hosting. If you enter the coupon code Daryl10 and click on apply, you'll get an additional 10% off any of the plans at Hostinger. So I'll click on apply, and then you'll see you'll just pay $100 for the entire year to run OpenClaw. So go ahead and click on continue. On the next page, you'll register with Hostinger and make an account. So you'll put your email and a password, and then you'll click on register. Now I already have an account, so I'll log in. On the next page, you'll enter in your billing information. So you'll put in your first name, your last name, and then your address. Then you'll click on continue. On the next section, you'll input your credit card info, and then you'll submit a payment, and then you'll be redirected to deploy OpenClaw. So I'll put in my credit card information, and then I'll submit the payment. Cool. On the next page, you'll click on get started. All right, cool. Now on the next page, we're going to configure the API. Now this right here is your OpenClaw API token. You can reveal this and then copy and paste it somewhere safe. You can always access this later in the Hostinger dashboard, so don't worry about it too much. Now we do need to add an API key in order to configure OpenClaw. There's a variety of different APIs you can add. You can add Anthropic, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and also Gemini. I'm going to add the Gemini API, so I'm going to go to Google AI Studio. Now this is the Google AI Studio, so you'll go ahead and make a free account, and then you can access the Google Gemini API for free. Here on the bottom left, you'll see Get API Key. And here's a list of APIs. Now at the top right, I'll click on Create API Key, and then I'll give my API key a name, so I'll put OpenClaw, and then I'll click on Create Key. Okay, so here is my API. So on the right side, I'll just click on Copy API Key and go back to Hostinger. And then I'll paste in the Gemini API key. Now another key you can add is Anthropic, and this is actually native to Claude. Now if you want to use the Claude API, all you got to do is go to claude.ai, make sure you make an account, go to the bottom right, and under Learn More, you'll click on API Console. This will bring you to the platform where you can now access the API. Now in order to get your API key, here at the bottom you'll see API keys. You'll click on API keys, and then just click on Create Key. And for the key, I'll put OpenClaw, click on Add, and then you'll copy this, and then you can paste this over at Hostinger. So under the Anthropic API, I'll just go ahead and right click and paste it. You can also do this for OpenAI and X as well, but I'm not gonna go through and add too many of these because obviously, one is enough. So once you add in your API key for any model you wanna use, you'll scroll to the bottom and click on Deploy. Okay, so as of right now, your VPS is being deployed. Now this process might take about 5 minutes. Now once your VPS is done setting up, to access OpenClaw, you'll click on Open. And this is where you'll paste your OpenClaw gateway token. Now, in case you forgot it or you misplaced it, you can always access it right here by clicking on gateway token, going back to OpenClaw, and then paste it. Then you'll click on login. And just like that, we're now logged into OpenClaw. Now, there are some instances where the actual server gets stuck. Let me go back over here to the Docker Manager really quick. Now, just in case you're at a loading screen where it was frozen, all you got to do is go to these three dots right here and click on restart, and then try to re-log in again. That is actually a common error that I've seen with hosting or servers. So just note, sometimes that happens. So now we're at OpenClaw. Now, the very